A very good evening to one and all present. Welcome to the final episode of the CLAT Masterclass series presented by View TV by Vijayabhumi University. For all of you guys who are joining us today, thank you so much for joining us today. In case if you haven't been able to attend our earlier episodes where we have discussed how to crack English, logical reasoning, legal reasoning, as well as GK, I suggest please go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's called View TV by Vijay Bhumi. All the recordings of the masterclass series are available there. And trust me, this is something that you guys wouldn't want to miss out on. Now, without further ado, let's begin the session today. So today I'm joined by Akshit Singla, who is a second year student at the National Law School, Bangalore. He was ranked number 25, All India rank 25 in the CLAT 2019 exam. And he is more than happy and has very kindly agreed to share tips and tricks of how to crack the math section in the CLAT exam. Welcome, Akshit. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know it's a very busy time for you at the National Law School, Bangalore, as you enter a new trimester. But thank you so much for doing this for us as well as our participants today.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, Akshit. So without further ado, we will begin the session. For our viewers joining today, let me give you an idea of the format of the session. This is how it works. First, we're going to be doing a moderated set of questions with Akshit. I would request all of you guys, if you have any doubts at all about, how to crack the CLAT exam, especially the math section, please make sure you're asking us a lot of questions in the chat box feature. It's a feature which is available on your right-hand side where all the messages, chat messages are being displayed. We have reserved 20 minutes just to take audience Q&A. So this is your one-stop chance to ask Akshit how he cracked the CLAT exam, and especially so well with an All India rank 25, which is so difficult to get. So Akshit, coming to the first question, can you first, for the benefit of our viewers, talk about what has changed in the math section from last year, that is CLAT 2019 to CLAT 2020? What is it that you have observed?
Okay, so one thing that you see on the outset is like earlier you used to get a standalone set of questions. In the sense, there will be, let's say, 20 questions, and each question will be different from each other, and it will be on a different premise and different set of facts. But what we see now is a set of questions, let's say 2 or 3 questions in one set. So what we see is that if you crack one question, you have a probability to crack the second question also. So it's like a set of questions that you have to do together. On the other hand, earlier it was more of a topic based questions where some questions would be from, let's say, speed, distance, time, or some would be from ratio and proportionality. So that kind of and the topics have changed. Like now a lot of questions are based on data interpretation and arithmetic algebra. But earlier it was very different in the sense that you used to get questions about speed, distance, time, as I mentioned. Then there were geometry and a lot of diverse areas which are not. I mean, to be very honest, I think they have done this. This is a good job done by CLAT in the sense that a lot of topics were very irrelevant in the sense they were not relevant to what you study in a law school. But now it's still more relevant if you see to the subjects that you're going to study in future. And moreover, they have reduced the number of questions, so that's that.
Thank you so much for that, Akshit. Akshit, I think it's really important. I don't know if it was the same, but when I was writing the CLAT as well as the IELTS in the year 2011, I remember a lot of people, have this rigid mindset, where they feel that math section is of a very least percentage in the CLAT, so it's something we can overlook, or people just have a fear of math. So how would you like to address that? And if need be, should I also start showcasing your presentation?
I mean, we can address it right away that the thing is, what we think is it's just 20 marks if we consider the previous uh, criteria. It's just 20 marks. So people thought that we can focus more on the subjects that contain more weightage. But the thing is, when everybody's preparing for CLAT, so let's say there's like 60,000 people who are preparing for this one exam. Everyone's preparing for this legal section or GK section or English section. But a very few part of that, a very small part of that group is preparing for math section. So in my opinion, math section is a because of this fear of maths. If somebody wants to get a very good margin and a very good hand over the others, it's this section that one has to prepare more carefully, because this section can get you a very good, like, because it's very objective section. It's not subjective like the other sections where you might get confused between two options. Here either you get it or you don't get it. So it's like you can get a good score and get a good hand over the other participants of the club.
Yep, I totally agree with you, Akshit. And guys, for all of you guys joining us today, I must tell you, each and every mark in that exam matters, because you will realize that there is not that much of difference in terms of the margin between the students, but it can really determine which college you're going to go to, because your ranks will start differing. So it's important that he's absolutely right. Maths is actually a scoring section. In GK, you can get confused between the names of two people, or you can get confused between two options. But in maths, because it's like a formula, and whether you know the right answer or the wrong answer, I think definitely it's a section that you must pay a lot more attention to. So, Akshay, now we have a date to the CLAT. Like earlier, there was a lot of uncertainty. Now we know it's happening in the month of August. We're roughly 2 months away from the exam. So, what is it that, what should the preparation be like of students when they're 2 months away from the exam vis a vis the math section?
Okay, so what I'd say is that a lot of people usually prepare for a year for CLAT, but I think for the 2 months, like now that we only have 2 months, we can not even 2 months, somewhere around 40 to 50 days. So what we can do is we can like spare the last 20 days or 25 days only for practice, and for this the leftover 20 days, what we can do is that we need to see what all sections do we don't know, what are our weaknesses in maths, because it's not really a very good time to start with a whole new concepts, right? Because if you start a new concept, it's only either you might be able to get the new concept and do well in it, but on the other hand there's also this thing that you might not get it, and it will only lower the confidence of a person, and that's one of the reasons I would not recommend starting anything new in the last few days. But for now, you one has to look into the weaknesses and what all they don't know or what they are weak at, and then try to, like, get better at it and more, like, practice more and more.
I totally agree with you. This is one question. So, like, the CLAT is also about time management, because you are definitely you're going to be working with a lot of different sections. So you have English, you have logical reasoning, legal reasoning, and you have GK, and all these sections, especially English now, logical reasoning as well as legal reasoning, because they become content heavy. They will end up taking your time. So, how much time do you think that realistically should a student allot for the math section? After which they say that, okay, that's it. This is the only time I'm giving to this section, and after this, I'm going to move on to the next question or the next section.
To be very honest, I mean, usually when I see these CLAT videos online, they treat this question that you just asked me as a very short answer question, like you give 20 minutes. But the thing is, it's one of the most important questions that we need to answer. When
Yeah.
when a person is going for CLAT, we don't know what kind of questions we are gonna get. We don't know what kind of paper will it be. Will it be easy or will it be tough? The only thing that we know is the time that we will get.
Yeah.
So it's very important to divide that time. But the thing is, we cannot divide that time till we know that paper, till we have seen the paper. Because
Yeah.
let's say you just divide that time and you say like 20 minutes are enough for maths, and then when you go for the paper, you have completed the math section in 10 minutes. You might think that, okay, you might have done something wrong. And if you're doing it in 30 minutes and it's supposed to be done in 30 minutes, then you might think that you are doing something wrong because you're spending a lot of time. So what I would suggest is that when you're going for the paper, have a rough time limit in your mind, but don't be very strict about it. You go and it's an online paper now, so you just glance through all the questions. You see whether English has like 4 paragraphs or 5 paragraphs. Are the paragraphs too long? If they're too long, then you have to reduce some time from maths. You go for logical. If they're short, you can increase your time in maths. And similarly, let's say if you're confident about your maths, you're good at maths, you're confident about it, then you can even plan to attempt it in the end. You don't have to do it at the first in the first part. But if you think that maths is something that you might not be too confident about, then you can even plan to do it first in a particular set of time, let's say 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then move on, and later if there's more time, then come back to it. That's I think that would be the better way. But if somebody is like looking for a number to this, I'd say 1 minute per question is something that you can do. But the thing is, it's all about return on investment. Don't spend too much time. That I mean, the return should be worth it. If you spend, let's say, 15 minutes just to get this one correct answer, it's not worth it, because
Yeah.
you could have solved a lot more questions which could have got you more marks than that. So it really depends from person to person.
Absolutely, you're right there. This is another question that a lot of aspirants face, which is, what are the online sources they can refer to for preparation, for practice bank questions? So, what would you suggest? What is it that they can look out for in the online space for math?
uh, for okay, so a lot of, like, usually I see there's this Telegram groups which you can find, like a lot of CLAT materials can be found on Telegram groups. But otherwise there are a lot of PDFs that are available on it. There are a lot of data interpretation questions. But even if the person cannot find them, it's, to be very honest, maths in maths, second is practice, first is knowing the concepts. So if even if you have a class 10th NCRT and a class 9th NCRT, do all the relevant chapters. It's very easy to find, it's there online. Do the relevant chapters of data interpretation, do the relevant chapters of algebra, arithmetic, fractions, decimals. These are the very basics, and if you know these basics, maths will be very easy for you to crack.
Yeah.
I mean, because even the toughest questions can be broken down into very simple parts and then can be done.
Absolutely. And according to you, if you can throw some light on what are the main topics that people must cover for maths?
Okay, so then there are few topics that I saw in the new set of syllabus that was given by CLAT, and most of it is data interpretation. But like, data interpretation is not a very it's a very wide topic in itself. It's pie charts and it's paragraph with a lot of data. But what you see in that data is, most of it is basic arithmetics. It's fractions. You're working with decimals. You're working with percentages. So some topics would be, you should know percentage to decimal conversion, faster, how you can divide things faster. Basically, one has to focus majorly on algebra
Got it.
and arithmetic.
Yeah. So everybody asking us what are the main topics for, you've heard it from the horse's mouth. Now I suggest, Akshit, why don't we go into your presentation? So over to you now. I'm going to be running the slides from behind, but now it's going to be totally your show. All right.
Cool, cool. Okay. So why is mathematics section important? We've already talked about this, that why is mathematics section important. The thing is, everybody studies for every other section. A lot of people don't study for mathematics section. So let's say you are studying a lot for GK and you're very good at GK. Still, you'll get, let's say, 3 marks more than or 4 marks more than any person who's maybe doing well in GK. But in mathematics, a lot of people are not even trying to attempt the part. They are leaving that section even without seeing. And I think that that's one of the things one should not do, because mathematics section, in 150 questions, let's say there are like 15 questions of mathematics, and you attempt and you get 10 marks out of them, you are getting a huge margin over the others. Because I personally know two people who got the same marks but got different NLUs, and this is just because of the, I mean, that happened because of the weightage in legal area section. But if any one of them would have been able to uh, do one more question in mathematics, that would have secured them the NLU that they would have preferred more, right? So this is one section that's very important to do. Can we do it without mathematics? I just said you can't do it without mathematics. You might be able to make into a good NLU, but if you want to make your attempt foolproof, then you have to do mathematics. Then, some important areas to focus on is percentages, and like a lot of questions that I saw that is there on the website and different sample papers, it's about percentages. The data is given in percentage. You just have to find the total of out of it. So let's say this, I mean, percent, or there's decimals, and then you have to convert decimals into percentages, and it's a lot related to percentages. And and algebra is very important in the sense that algebra can be used to solve the same questions that are given in a very quick manner. If you're good at algebra, I mean, you can do it other way also, because I mean, you can use unitary method and stuff like that. But if you know a bit of algebra, that will help you do the same questions in a very quick manner. uh, yeah. So what not to do? First of all, do not fear maths. I just saw this one chat where some person is just leaving maths. I mean, see, the thing is, you might be very good at other sections. You improve on that, but if you even like, it's not too lesser time to start maths right now. If you just leave maths, you're leaving out on 15 marks direct. Let's say the CLAT decides to give a very easy math section, and just because you were fearful of maths, you did not even attempt that section. What will happen is that a lot of people who might know as much maths as you or even less than you, they might be able to do that math section, but you might leave it because you are fearful of the same. So the thing is, it's not really that tough. So if you even start now and even are able to get 5 marks more than what you're getting right now from the math section, that will help you go a long way uh, in CLAT. Don't spend too much time on. Okay, so what a lot of people do is that when they start a maths question, it's something like they take it on ego that they have to solve it. And it happens with a lot of people who are very good at maths too, in the sense that a lot of time people believe, like, they think that they're really good in maths. So what they do is that they keep on trying to do that one question which CLAT might have just put in the paper, so that people give away all their time in this one question. So you need to be mindful of how much time you're spending in that one, in every question. You don't have to spend a lot of time in a question. So, but if you, it's all about return on investment. So let's say there's this one question that you're able to figure out that if you do this one question, the next 4 questions of the set you will be able to do very easily. So even if you spend that 6 minutes or 7 minutes on that question, in total you spend those 7 minutes doing 5 questions. So over there you have to spend, you can afford to spend 6 to 7 minutes. But let's say there's a question that's a standalone question, you have done all the other questions of the set, there's this one question that you're like devoting a lot of time to, then it doesn't make sense, because that time is being cut from other sections. If you spend more time on maths, you have got less time to spend on English, logical, legal. So it's always good to have a good glance of the paper and spend time according to that. If you can afford to spend, then it's good. But don't, so very important is that you know how much time you have to spend on one section. And that can only be done by having an overview about the paper, right? So two things: don't spend too much time and be mindful of how much time you can afford to spend. Don't go over that limit. Do not start solving questions as you see it. I'll come back to this point when we do the questions. You'll realize that this is one of the most important tips one can ever give you. We have discussed good way to go, and okay, yeah, how will it help? Okay, so when you're, let's say you get the paper and then you just glance over the paper, how will it help you? You'll get to know how much time you have to spend for English. You'll get to know how much time you have to spend for logic. Are you able to like just read few lines of the English paragraph so that you know is the paragraph too demanding in nature or is it an easy paragraph? So just glance over the whole paper and you have an idea. Okay, you have to do this. That section is really tough. You have to spend more time on that. This one is really easy. GK usually is like one liner. Either you know it or you don't know it. Even if you're going for flukes, I mean, that's still, it's not something that you need to spend time on. So you can even leave GK while you're glancing over everything. So because that's just reading time and marking the answers, it's not really something you have to ponder on. Okay, so we'll start with the questions and you'll realize what I'm trying to say. There's a bank and okay, so when there's a question, so what's usually CLAT and also ALET specifically in their legal section, they have this habit of giving a lot of unnecessary information that you don't need to solve anything. So what you need to do is like just go over the question, take out all the relevant data. Let's say you'll get rough papers. So you just keep noting the relevant details. It's an online paper, so sometimes it's really it's hectic to go back to the question and then go back to the go back to the paragraph and then go back to the question. It's kind of so better is to that you note all the relevant data from the paragraph at once. So what's the relevant data in this? 1/6 of the employees. Okay, so there was this disaster. Okay, cool. 1/6 of the employees were evacuated by the villagers in a country boat. Okay, 1/5 were evacuated by fishermen and trawler, and the remaining were joined by villagers who were helping with the evacuation. Finally, 8 motorboats with 8 people each left the island. So it's 64 people leaving by motorboats. Kritika, next slide. Yeah. So if half the motorboats had 1 villager each and the other half had 2 each, what was the ratio of villagers to employ in the motorboats? Okay. So one way to do is that you calculate there are 8 boats, half at 1 villager each, so 4 villagers, half at 2 villagers each, so 8 villagers, and then a total is 12 villagers, and then total people who went on the boats was 64. So it's 12 is villagers, so employees will be 52. And then you take out the ratio that it comes to 3:13. Right? That's one way to do that. I'd say, and what I saw from the CLAT website is that they explained it in this way. I'll tell you a easier way. You just look at the options. There's only one option in which if you plus the left hand side of the ratio to the right hand side of the ratio, you will get a number that divides 64. In all the ratios that you can take out of 64, even if it was 3 villagers going in a boat and any number of boats and stuff, if you know the total there and the ratios are given, in this only there's this one ratio that divides the whole number, that's 64. So in any case, the other 4 options cannot be the answer because none of them divides 64. It's only 3:13, which you plus 3 and 13, that gives you 16. Is the one that divides 64. So these are a lot of shortcuts that you can apply, and these shortcuts are not something that you have to learn by heart. That okay, like just I told you this, so you can use this one when you get a similar question. But a lot of these things are something that you figure out when you do a lot of questions. So the point is that you need to solve a lot of questions and you'll try to figure out, you'll be able to figure out these kinds of patterns that are there in the questions. So sometimes you don't even have to calculate how many villages were there. It's just 3, 13, total is 16, so directly 64 is only divisible by it. Let's say there was one more option that was something of 5 is to 11. Then there's a problem. There you will have to calculate it in the way that they have done. But for one glance at the options would benefit you by not wasting a lot of time that you might end up doing, because this is just 64 here, right? If it was a very confusing numbers and very confusing calculation and you knew the total, then it would have been very easy for you. Next slide. Yeah. Okay, I just, so yeah, be innovative. So there's no it, most of the questions, there's not one way to do that question. There are a lot of ways to do this one every question. So the tip is to be innovative in your approach, because, and also what happens is that a lot of times we tend to go by the method that's given in the book, the method that's taught by the coaching institutes. I mean, that's a good approach that they have taught you, but the best approach is the one that you develop. I mean, you can adhere to the approach that's given by a coaching institute or a book, and if that works for you, that's well and great. But if there's this one approach that you know will work, that you have tried on a lot of questions and it's logical, then use that approach. Because even if that approach takes 30 seconds more, you will be much more confident about your answer. How many employees were evacuated in the trawler? Uh, I'll have to go back to the facts. Trawler was okay. So of the remaining, 1/5 were evacuated by fishermen in a trawler, and 1/6 went by country boats, and then the leftover went by motorboats. Right. So the basic calculation is 1/6 went by the country boat, 5/6 are left. Out of 5/6, 1/5 went by the trawler. How much are you left with? What's that you're left with? 4/6 of the people, right? 4/6 of the people, that's 2/3 of the people left by motorboats. And we know that the 2/3 of the people were your 64 that we took out in the first part of the question. So you know that the 2/3 of people is 64, and 1/5 of that means 1/6 of the total. Uh, do I okay? Uh, Kritika, can I turn the whiteboard on?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you know that 1/6 went by your country boat. Then you are left with 5/6, right? So 1/5 of the 5/6, that is 1/6 again, because 5/6 divided by 1/5, I mean multiplied by 1/5, sorry, that gives you again 1/6. So 1/6 went by country boat, and 1/6 went by your trawler. So the leftover is 2/3, right? It's 4/6. So they went by motorboat. We know that 2/3 is 64. So from that we can calculate what's 1/6. So 2/3 is 64. 1/6 in that way would be your, how many employees were? No, wait. It was not 64. 64 was with villagers, right? So 52 people went by. So 4/6, that's 2/3 is 52, and 1/6 becomes 13. So that way A would be the answer. Yeah. Then we move on to the next question. That's if there were four villages in a country, if there were, okay, yeah, if there were four villages in the country boat and six fishermen in a trawler, and if an equal number of people traveled in each trip, that is country boat, trawler, and motorboat, how many people traveled in each trip? Okay, to be very honest, what I felt from this question was that it's not very clear, but that's why I left it over in the tip, because a lot of people, I asked someone and they interpreted the same question in a very different manner. But so what you can do with these, I mean, I will solve this one. But let's say when you are not able to solve a question that you get in the paper, the point is that when you get a question that you're not able to understand in the paper, you give some time to it, in the sense you give a, let's say, a 30 seconds to it or 40 seconds to it, and try to make a sense of it. Try to attempt it. If you get an answer that lies in the options, then you can most probably go for that option. I mean, you can still try to do that, but if you don't get the question, don't spend too much time on it. Try the next question. Maybe the next question will help you, because it's a set of questions, right? So let's say there are five questions. Maybe the fifth question will help you understand the fourth question wanted you to answer. So in this, four villages in the country boat and six in the six fishermen in trawler. Now, what information do we have? We have the information that 12 people, 12 villagers, and 52 employees went in the country boat. Then we get that four villagers, no, okay, so 12 people, 12 villagers, and 52 employees went in the motorboats. That were eight motorboats. Four villagers went in the country boat, and six fishermen in the trawler. We know that in country boat and in trawler, 1/6 of the employees also went, and that 1/6 is is 13 according to the last question. So that makes 17 people in the country boat, 19 people in the trawler, and then a total of 64 in the motorboats. If equal number of people traveled in each trip, and in total, how many trips were there? There was this one trip of country boat, there was this one trip of trawler, that's two trips, and then there were eight trips of what you say motorboats. So that's 10 trips. So that simply makes 10 total 10 trips, and then 64 plus 17 plus 19 makes a total of 100. So you get the total answer to be 100 divided by 10, that is A. So, I mean, they thought this was a really easy question, but the point here is that if you don't get a question, if you are not able to interpret a question, then what would benefit you is to leave that question for a while, maybe come back to it in the end, but don't waste a lot of time in every question. After they reached the shore, one third of the employees took taxi, half of them took a bus, and the remainder took the train. The cost of hiring a four-seater taxi was 500. The cost of hiring a bus was 5,000, and each train ticket was priced at 75. The taxis took maximum of four passengers each. If the total expenditure of the different modes of transport was 9,475, how many taxis were hired? So this from this information and this information, apart from these two points of these two parts of information, in my opinion, you don't need any of it. A person who is very enthusiastic of just going to solve the question might end up using all these values and then calculating the total, and that's a very bad approach. You'll end up wasting a lot of time and you might not even get the answer. You know that one third of the employees took a taxi. You know that uh, a taxi can take a maximum of four passengers each. Just simply need to calculate total number of taxis. We know 52 employees plus 13 here in the country boat and 13 in the trawler makes a total of 78 employees, and one third of them took the taxi, and then one third is 26, and 26 means how many taxis were higher? It's 26, right? Yeah, it's 26. And four people went in each taxi. So that means, I think I got the, yeah. So am I audible? Kritika, am I audible? Hello. Yeah. So we calculated 78 people went, and it's 26 taxis, right? And four people went in each taxi. So that makes a total of 6.5 taxis. So seven taxis will be uh, taken for the trip. So you don't need all the information that's being provided. There might be a pie chart with 10 different types of information, and one might start using all the information, but you don't need all that information. There's only a small part of information that's required to solve a question. So one has to be mindful of that. The total number of employees in is 4.5 times the number of people that went on the picnic. The securities department of the bank consists of 4 upon 9 of the total number of employees. The percentage of Sangsat Bank's employees in the securities department is okay. So in this question, the answer is given right there in the question itself. As I told you, the percentage to decimal is percentage to decimal to fraction. It's very important if you do that, because see, they're asking you what percentage of the employees is in the securities department. The second line itself says that the securities department of the bank consists of 4 upon 9 of the total number of employees. What one person might start doing is that they'll calculate that there were 78 employees that went to the picnic. The total number of employees is 4.5 times of the people that went on the picnic, so it's 351 number of employees. And then they will find that, okay, so 4 upon 9, so let's multiply 351 into 4 upon 9, and the answer will be somewhere close to 156, I guess. Yeah, 156. But when you simply given 4 upon 9, and 4 upon 9 of the total simply translates to 44%, the answer is right there in the question. The answer is A. So you don't have to do everything in that sense. You don't have to go through the long way when you can simply see that 4 upon 9. So it's very important to read the question. You can't just start solving at one read of the question. You need to read the question and see what all hints are there. What, because there's a lot of information that's not required. CLAT is not really asking you to do calculations for them. They're just trying to figure out how quick you can do that. Are you applying your mind, or are you just use? I mean, they don't want a calculator, right? They're not want trying to get calculate like trying to judge you on your calculating skills. It's quantitative aptitude. They're trying to judge your aptitude, and aptitude simply means devising new methods, devising quick methods to solve the same question. So a lot of questions use these conversions of percentages and fractions and then decimals. So it's important if you can just see what are the famous fractions, in the sense famous in the sense 1 upon 9 fractions, and all the 1 upon 1 upon 1 2 1 upon 3 1 upon 4, and then their multiples, and then till 10 you can do that. So, and I mean, there's some particular fractions that are very common in these questions. So it's best if you can just memorize those percentages and fractions. We'll quickly do the second question. This was a question in the sample paper, and it's really a very easy question in the sense that uh, there are two people who got some gifts in kind and some gifts in cash. The cash gifts were more than 35,000, and they were in three denominations of 2,000, 500, and 200. They got 10 notes of one, 12 of another, and 16 notes of the other. And then they decide to spend it in a certain ratio to buy a guitar and a sitar. First one. So uh, what is the correct denomination out of the given options that fits the criteria that the money that they got was more than 35,000? So you don't have to. Okay, so what approach the sample paper shows is that they calculate each and every option, and then they try to figure out which one is the answer out of the given calculations. But then there's a specific order to calculation. You don't have to start calculating each and every option from the starting. Simply when you see it's 35,000, meaning more number of notes that you have of the highest denomination, more is the chance that that will be the right answer. So you can 16 notes of rupees 2,000. So one, if you go by order, one might see, one might calculate the first option at the first point. That will give you 24,000 plus 5,000 plus 30 two, 3,200. So that gives you a total of 30 100 3,200 to 32,200. But you don't have to calculate each. Simply first go for the one that you think that has more probability of being the answer. That's the second option. 16 notes of rupees 2,000, that's directly 32,000. 12 notes of 500, that gives you 6,000. That makes a total of 38,000. You don't have to go after that. You know that this is the right answer. It's more than 35,000. Even if there's one more option that's more than 35,000, you're still correct. Then that's a fault of the paper. Your only criteria that you have to match is that the total value of the denominations should be more than 35,000. You got your answer. You don't need to see the rest two options. So you just need to try. Okay, so when you're working with options, the first thing is to know which option has more probability of being the right option. This is something that you'll get by practice. Maths, as I told earlier, there are two things to maths. First is knowing what to do, and third, being fast at what you're doing. So if you know the first is knowing concepts. If you know what to do, then even if you're slow, you'll be able to get to the answer. If once you know what to do, then you just need to practice, and then when you practice, you will find patterns in it. You'll find more logics how to do the same question. Then what percentage of the total value of the gifts received by Riz and Rekha was by the way of cash? We just calculated the total in this one, in the second option, came to a total of 40,000. 32 plus 6 plus 2, that makes 40,000. So that's 40%. That's Yep, the answer is 40%. Which of the following represents the correct amount spent by Riz and Rekha on buying the guitar and sitar? So, okay, so they got 1 lakh rupees in total from the money that they got on their marriage. So, out of the options, there's only one option that makes a total of 1 lakh. So, there's no way that any other option can be there. I mean, see, if this is the kind of questions that CLAT gives and you are fearful of maths, then you are losing a lot, because this is a very easy question, and just by a reading of the paragraph you might think that it's a very tough one. But once you come to the questions when you come to 2.3, you'll figure out that it was a really easy question, and you might have lost on just 1 mark or 2 marks, which were very easy to get, and most probably a lot of people who were not that good at maths might have got these questions and got an upper hand, and you might, even after knowing what to do, just because of your fear, would have left these kinds of questions. I think we can. I think that's enough as in question. I mean, the tip is basically that know the basic concepts, know what you're doing. Don't simply start doing the questions. Figure out what you have to do. Take hints from from previous questions and other questions. And not all information is the required information. CLAT is not asking you to be their calculator. They're not asking you to multiply numbers or to divide numbers. They're just asking you that do you know the logic how to do it? Can you, I mean, it's a quantitative aptitude paper. Aptitude means using different methods to solve the question, using your own methods to solve the same question.
Thank you so much, Akshit. I think that was extremely helpful. I'm just sitting and thinking and reminiscing that while I was preparing, I had somebody like you who was there to guide me and explain to me step by step that what my approach should be to each question. This was incredibly helpful. So there is one question that I'd like to take up before we end the session today. And I think it's a fairly simple question because I've got it twice. I'm going to post it to you, which is that will there be geometrical questions in CLAT?
In the sample papers that have been released by CLAT consortium, and even in the syllabus, it doesn't really show that there will be geometry related questions as such. And I mean, so also the thing is, geometry in itself is used in data interpretation.
Yeah.
In the sense that if there's a pie graph and they have given the values in basis of fractions of the area of the pie graph, then you need to know that how to calculate the area of the circle.
Correct.
But very specifically, no geometry based questions have been as such shown in the sample paper. So I don't think so that there will be geometry based questions.
Absolutely. So this brings us to the end of our session. I think we have taken up most of the questions that the audience asked us during the session. So thank you so very much, everybody, for joining us today. We hope you found this session useful. Like I said, please subscribe to our YouTube channel because you will find all the complete recordings of each of these sessions. We have done section-wise episodes, so 5 episodes in total. You will find it on View TV by Vijay Bhumi, our YouTube channel. So make sure you see that. Thank you so very much, Akshit, for taking out time and being with us today. You know, hearing from a person who's got such a high rank, which is All India rank 25, I think it's extremely motivating and inspiring for each of our students who have joined us here today. So thank you very much for taking out time and being with us. For the rest of you guys, please stay tuned to View TV by Vijay Bhumi. We are now going to very soon come out with a masterclass series on how to prepare for the IELTS exam. As you all know, earlier IELTS was going to have a very large set of reservation for Delhi students. But there is now a stay order by the Delhi High Court, which means that the earlier pattern will now be followed, which means that a lot of you guys who have been wanting to go to NLU Delhi, you guys stand a chance. So we will be doing a masterclass series with the IELTS topper on how to crack the IELTS exam as well. Thank you very much, Akshit, for joining us again. Good luck. We hope to see you again on one of our future episodes. Thank you, everybody, for joining us again. We hope you stay safe and keep healthy. See you guys in our next episode. Thank you. Take care.